Good morning, members. Excuse me. Good morning. Thank you. Welcome to the Communities Committee meeting of the 26th of February 2018. I think it would be remiss of me not to remark that this is the centenary of women first being allowed to vote in this country. And I think that should be something to celebrate, and at least 2 members of the committee will now have a right to vote. But so 100 years on, I'm not that sure that the balance has been met yet, but we're getting there. Okay. I was also just going to say, welcome to the first committee meeting of the 2018. I would like to take the opportunity actually to publicly thank the staff who have been at the forefront of ensuring a really first-class service and a first-class response at the forefront of ensuring that the recent severe winter weather was minimised. What normally makes the news on the TV is the gritters on the M74. What is less visible is the worker staff in the contact centre who are dealing with thousands of phone calls, the 24/7 service to vulnerable people from Care Call, the community asset staff providing safe routes to school, the community safety staff helping with traffic management and the delivery of Meals on Wheels, and the whole operation is superbly managed and coordinated by our resilience and community safety team, all within this department, who've been working long hours to ensure a response was described as first class by the Scottish Government. I'm in no doubt that the voluntary effort from our communities and local voluntary organisations is a vital part of the overall response, and it is on occasions such as these that people really appreciate the vital services provided by the Council and the support they get from the public. And I think on that we should be saying to the staff and the public, thanks very much for really quite outstanding service and behaviour over that crisis. Looking at this morning, some people it would be just as bad today as it was a few weeks ago, but never mind. At least in Dumfries, it's not too bad. With that, I think we'll go into the business. The Sederunt apologies. Claire, have we?
Thank you, Chair. We've got 20 members present this morning. Councillor Ronnie currently not present.
Okay. Declarations of interest. Andrew.
Thanks, Chair. I need to declare an interest. I'll leave the room for item 6 as I am a board member of the Centenary Development Trust, who are up for money for the Oyster Festival.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Anyone else? I'd just like to declare, we don't actually declare an interest, but there's several members of the IGB here and we have a dispensation. But I think it should just be noted that we're here and we appreciate that that is on the agenda at different parts. So I'm happy just to let that go as that, rather than individual members doing anything about it. So can we move to the minutes of the meeting of the 5th of December? This minute is just for approval. Yeah, I'm happy to move. John's happy to second. Okay, thank you very much. We're happy to accept that, the last minutes. Thank you very much. We move on to the Communities Revenue Monitoring Report for 2017-18 for the period ended 30th of November. The report provides members with an overview of the financial performance against budget for communities for 2017-18 based on the monitoring information for the period up to the 30th of November. I'm encouraged that the Directorate continues to display sound budget management arrangements, with the forecast projected to be a small underspend at the end of the financial year. The Director Derek and Kirk Taylor, the Finance Officer, will take any questions on the report. Has anybody got any questions on the report? Jane?
It's just a question. I noticed in report number 8 that we'll deal with talks about capital funding from current revenue, and I wondered whether that was incorporated into these current projections, please.
Sure.
These projections are purely to do with our revenue budget, and it doesn't reflect anything around capital funding.
You okay with that, Jane?
Well, maybe I'll deal with it right under report 8.
Maybe deal with it offline, yeah. Ian Blake?
Thank you, Chairman. I too would like to congratulate the Director and his staff for bringing this back, certainly within budget. But I would like to go to page 15, and it's under Community Assets. The variance there is 277,000. And just if the Director could explain how this variance comes about.
Derek?
Yep, thank you, Chairman. Thanks, Councillor Blake, for your comments. Position is primarily that we are still in a state of change, given the refocusing of the Council and the standing down of DG First, members will recall, and therefore the disaggregation between ourselves and the E&I Directorate continues. The most important thing is the service to the public continues not in any way disrupted, So on that basis, I would expect by the end of the financial year that position will have recovered, because I have further meetings with my colleagues in E&I to ensure that we've actually ended up with the right balance between the Communities Directorate and E&I in terms of the functions that we now carry out. So I think one of the factors that's causing that overspend is under control at the present time, and we'd hope to have that concluded by the end of this financial year.
Happy with that, Ian?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, in that case then I'll move on to recommendations. So are members happy to agree the recommendation 2.1? 2.2? 2.3? Voted. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 5, the Housing Scotland Act Scheme of Assistance. The report provides a summary of the operation of the Council's Scheme of Assistance for homeowners and private sector tenants for 2017-18, along with proposed budget allocations for 2018-19. As members know, the annual review of the Dumfries and Galloway Health and Social Care Partnership budget is a matter reserved for full Council. This determines the budget is delegated to the Integrated Joint Board. Therefore, members are asked to make recommendations to full Council. It is certainly my view that these proposals directly contribute to the Council priorities for protecting our most vulnerable people. We've got Jim O'Neill here to answer the questions on the report, and I believe there are further officers in the room who can answer more detailed questions if they arise. Okay, so I'm happy. Jim, have you anything to add to this?
Nothing to add to the report, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. It's a very minor question, and I'm sure it will be encapsulated in the report on the 3rd of April, but in 3.5.2 on page 24, the Town Centre Living Fund, it talks about the investment that's been made, and it talks about tackling poor condition of a house on Main Street, Kirkconnell. Now, I recall that was one of 4 projects that were identified by the E&I committee last year, and a particular sum of money was set aside specifically for that. So it may be that this is in addition, or it may be it's something else that the Town Centre Living Fund has actually picked up. But I know there was money set aside for that particular property in a different budget, in a different committee, and that's not something we can discuss today. But if that could maybe be encapsulated in the report on the 3rd of April, that would be helpful.
Just to say, Derek, so I think what you're saying, Jim, is that and I'm in agreement, that individual ward issues, can be forwarded to Jim O'Neill for potential inclusion in that next report. And I'm looking at Derek, and Derek's nodding, yeah. Is that what you're saying?
And it's not about individual ward issues, it's about a funding issue that committees had dealt with. Right? It just happens to be in my ward, it wouldn't have mattered where it was.
It's the principle, yep. You okay with that, Jim? Yep. Thanks, so that's agreed, we can do that, no problem. Sean?
Thanks, Chair. Just 3.7 on page 25. It's really just to seek assurance. It's about the Scheme of Assistance leaflets. It says halfway down the paragraph that this 10k will be used to promote the scheme and will include the production of a suite of leaflets. I was just wanting assurance that, there was other things apart from the leaflets that was being done for the 10,000.
Yep, thanks, Chair. The intention would be to undertake a range of publicity in relation to property condition in the private sector. So we'd be looking to update the Council's website, maybe arrange events with private landlords. So the intention is to undertake a wider range of things to supplement the leaflets, but the leaflets will be the kind of core piece of work.
Just from me then, what kind of lifespan would the leaflets have?
So we're going to draft them so that they can be updated easily and make sure that the descriptions that we use will stand the test of time and can be amended to reflect changes in policy without much difficulty. And we'll also do fairly limited print runs so that we don't end up with leaflets that become out of date quickly.
So effectively it's up to 10,000?
Yes.
Right, okay, thank you. Anybody else? No? That's fine. In that case then, I'll go straight to recommendations. Are we happy to agree recommendation 2.1 to 2.7 inclusive? Yep. You happy with that? Thank you very much. We'll move on. To the major events strategy and report by the Head of Civic and Local Services. Again, we've got Ian Barr here with Harry Thompson. Members are asked to approve grant awards to major festivals and events projects as recommended by the Dumfries and Galloway Events Partnership. These grant awards form a core aspect of the Council's work to deliver, with project partners, the regional major festivals and events strategy. The strategy recognises the importance of major events to our local economy, as well as the associated cultural, sporting and community benefits. And as I say, both Harry and Ian are here to answer any questions. Are we just happy to go straight to questions, Harry?
Yes, just one deliberate mistake at paragraph 335, Chair. We're suggesting that a report with final recommendation on the grant for Eden Festival be brought back to the April, should be 2018 meeting, not 2017 clearly.
Well, we've got to sleep that up on you because I'd noticed that as well. So it's a bit late. Okay, other than that, so we'll go to questions. Ian, Graham? Yeah.
Thanks, Chair. It's on 3.6, obviously the figure of £30 million. Obviously, you're looking at the forecast of £30 million to local economy of Dumfries and Galloway. How are actually monitoring these figures? How are we getting to these figures? Is this independently handled? Are we looking at each event basis, and how are you evaluating this information? Because it's quite obviously. It's difficult to forecast a barrel of oil in 3 years' time. Just wonder how you managed to get to this figure and how accurate this figure is going to be, because it's quite a lot of money being poured into the local economy. So we need to know how are you deriving these figures.
Harry or Ian, whichever. Yeah.
A number of events will undertake formal economic impact studies, and will collate the results of those studies, and they're undertaken by economists and trained organisations. Where that's not the case, our funding is linked to a post-event report, and the economic calculations are based upon incoming visitors to Dumfries and Galloway. With new software, it's much more, not easy, but we can get much better forecasts of the spend and the origins of visitors into Dumfries and Galloway. So our data is actually quite good, and the impact of more than £30 million is based upon the fact that we did attract 17.5 million into the economy in the first 2.5 years of the previous 4-year strategy. I do think that's a robust figure, and I do hope that we'll exceed that by a high degree.
Okay, Graham, thank you. Ian Blake.
Thank you, Chairman. It's regarding the suggested funding for Major Event Strategic Fund. I know there were 10 applications. 8 are proposed to be approved to varying degrees of award. When you look at the 2 that were rejected, they actually appear to score higher in return on public sector investment and importance of the event to Dumfries and Galloway, at least as high or higher. And I'd just like a bit of explanation why that would come about, other than there's some, and I would say subjective comments such as that their aspirations were overstated, and a kind of general term with the last one, there's no case for further public sector intervention.
Ian?
Thank you. In previous committee reports, the detail in the appendices has been sufficient for members to be able to evaluate the recommendations. The actual two applications that were moved into sector development initiatives were the lowest scoring applications put in front of the Events Partnership. The Events Partnership reviewed all applications sympathetically and wanted to find a measure of support for the two unsuccessful applications. I'm certainly happy to share with the members after this meeting the actual scoring that the panel considered.
Yes, Ian, you want clarification?
Not so much clarification. I don't really think that's good enough. We're being asked to make a decision today to make this recommendation subject on budget provisions. And on the papers in front of us today, these two would appear they should have been considered. So much so that I'd like to put forward that proposal that we do in fact make an award to these two organisations of 50%. It would put a budget pressure on this of £10,000, and that £10,000 be taken proportionally from the 8 that were recommended for approval.
Thanks. I think, in fairness to the officer, the recommendations have come forward from the independent group that was unanimously agreed by full council. Everyone agreed to that unanimous group. That independent grouping of organisations, and it was just for that one of that reasons. It was was to make sure that council officers weren't getting put in a position. So, other than that, where is it you want to go with this? Before I ask the officer to respond.
I want to put forward a motion that we do make an award to these two organisations. And in front of the paper that we have in front of us today, they score at least as high or higher in two major fields. One for for a return on public sector investment, and also the importance of the event to Dumfries and Galloway. And I think they should be given some recognition of that. My proposal is to give a 50% award, which would put a pressure of £10,000 onto the 275 that's already been suggested, but that £10,000 be taken proportionally from the 8 that are recommended, thereby removing that budget pressure.
Okay, I'm going to ask governance advice here just in a second or two, because we have a council decision to have a panel, an independent panel, to bring forward recommendations. My worry would be, I understand where you're coming from, is that would undermine that independent process. And I'm kind of looking at officers now, and actually I don't know if they're actually able to actually give you an answer, because Ian would be in the room, I would suggest, when the discussions were taking place, but he's reporting back their recommendations, not his recommendations, our councillor or staff's recommendations. So where do you want to go? If you want to put forward a motion, we'll come to that in a minute or two. Yeah. Can we just have the debate first and then look and see where it takes us? Is that okay with you?
If I could come back on that.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, you mentioned it yourself, these are recommendations. So in other words, it's up to us to decide. If we can compare that to what we do in the various area committees, both in Stewartry, as I'm a member, and Nithsdale, when we have a panel making recommendations, and very often we vary these recommendations. Well, that's what I'm suggesting here today.
I'll hear the rest of the speakers, then I'll ask governors who are in actual fact we have enough evidence in front of us to actually make a different decision, but that'll come later. I've got a number of people here. Sorry, Harry, do you want in?
Chair, if I could just clarify, Wirral Cayley had applied for £4,000, and there's a recommendation as part of the sector development funding for an award of £3,000 to Wirral Cayley for the purpose asked for in terms of audience research. So they're actually getting 75% of what was requested through the sector development funding. The Dumfries Ice Bowl Curling Association had requested 16,000. The recommendation through sector development is for an award of 5,000 to them, recognising that they received an award just prior to Christmas of £6,000 for the event staged before Christmas. And the feeling of the Events Partnership in regard to DIBCA was that the events that they're proposing to stage aren't of the level that we would like to see in terms of a major event. So it's not the highest level of competition that we would, the events partnership would expect of them.
Thanks. I've got a number of people want to speak in order. I've got John Young, Adam, and Ian Carruthers. John?
Thank you, Chair. At the top of page 33, you're allocating £6,000 to create a website to promote the event supported by the Council. I'm asking if this is a sufficient amount to build websites, resource them, staff them, and most importantly, keep them up to date for the future, basically. And also, could I ask what the rationale is when these events will have their own marketing websites? Could you explain the benefits of the Council also marketing these events? Thank you.
We think the £6,000 should be sufficient. It will be a website which covers our own cultural facilities as well as the events sponsored by the Council. In time-honoured fashion, we would expect there will be links within the website to the event's own web presence as well. But clearly what we're looking to do is to bring everything together to produce a calendar of events for the region and really to emphasise to people looking in from the outside that there are events happening throughout the year of varying types and of a significant standing as well to try and bring people into the area and get them thinking about coming back as well, so that they may come to one event, but the website would lead them to look at other events that are on the calendar. Initially, we're looking at the events that would be funded through the Council's events fund, but clearly there may be opportunities as well to link on to other events happening in the area as well, and therefore produce a more integrated calendar of events with a good high-profile web presence for the region.
Thanks, Chair. Harry had picked up on my point about the fact that actually Knockengort, Wallcailey are actually getting £3,000 in sector development funding. However, I think that the main thing that we need to remember here is that this is a strategy that is designed to grow a sector of our economy here in Dumfries and Galloway. It's a strategy that has developed out of previous strategies which have just done that has grown this sector of the economy as part of our council's priorities to grow the local economy. So I think that needs to be remembered. It's not a case of picking whatever we like the title of, picking whatever we like the sound of it. It's actually about growing the local economy through growing the tourism and events sector. And I think that needs to be remembered in whatever motions and amendments come forward today.
Thanks very much. I don't know if there's a question in there, was there? No. I've got Ian first and then Ronnie.
Chair, I was just really coming in to second Ian Blake, but ultimately he was walking back in to try and get clarity on the back of what Harry had said, so I've been keen to hear what he'd say before I do actually second Ian, or has he actually changed his mind on that?
I hadn't noticed that he'd had, no he didn't. It was my understanding that's why I moved on, because normally I asked the questioner if they want anything to add. There was no reaction from it. But thanks anyway. I've got Ronnie Tate.
Thanks, Chair. Page 30, 328. Can I have some clarity on that? A final award is therefore recommended to the Adventure Festival. That's the Muckletown Adventure Festival in Langham. Does that mean to say that they can't apply for any more money?
Ian, you want to take that?
Thank you. The Muckletown Adventure Festival is a wonderful festival that this would be its third year of support. And through the work of the festival committee there, but also the Major Event Strategic Fund, they've greatly enhanced their sustainability by increasing their income through the work that we've done with them over the last 2 or 3 years. Muckletown Adventure Festival is one of those festivals that has a strategic importance, which is to try and develop Langham as a centre for outdoor sports and activities. And our work was closely aligned with helping them prepare a business plan to develop Langham as such a centre for outdoor activities. So the recommendation is that we should consider this as a final award, but it doesn't debar them applying again.
You happy with that, Ronnie? Ronnie, you happy with that? Yeah, okay, thank you. Any other questions? Graham?
Thanks, Chair. Once again, obviously, it's looking at these grant recommendations and whatnot. If all members will probably know that we have an area discretionary grant for our own area committees and that, and it's totally different the way they score area committees. We're actually, if you look at the page here, Appendix 1 for reasons for grant recommendations, you've got high return of public sector investment. Importance of event high, public good at event no. It's pretty bland, for elected members giving out nearly a three-figure sum over a period of time. We need to have clarity on this. It should be independently handled, because at the end of the day, we've got to scrutinise events and where the funding's going to, Chair. So I think why aren't we going down the idea of a discretion grant similar to what's the area committee, that it's clear for members to know where the funding's going if the funding is not making it the recommendations or whatnot. So I think we need a clearer format in the future, Chair.
Thanks very much. Is there any comment?
Chair, we can certainly review the format. There are notes to the appendix at the bottom, which sets out the criteria for placement within the high or low categories. But we can certainly look at the format of the advice coming back to members after the partnership meeting for the next round of applications.
Yeah, a good practice would say that would happen anyway. Yeah, review it as the way through. I've got Ian Carruthers first and then Ian Blake.
Different part. I'll let Ian, if you're okay, Chair, I'll let Ian. I've just got a different point, I think.
It's the same name anyway. Having heard the explanation, I would agree to withdraw that motion. Although I think that information may have been better on the appendix if we'd been shown that, it would have been clearer. But I'm prepared to withdraw the motion.
Thanks very much, here. I think that can be incorporated quite easily, and you're right, make it a bit more clear next time round. We can move on from there. Is there anyone else wanting to? Ian, you want to come back in?
Just because it was a different point, I thought Ian was wanting to make that point, but I just think this is obviously for note and it's subject to final confirmation through the budget process. So we'll see that, it'll go through, see what comes of that, how things progress. But I think certainly for the east of the region, being lobbied quite heavily, and I think it's something we should be looking at taking cognizance of even as we go forward in the budget, but is actually the common riding the marches, and how we actually recognise them potentially through this, or some kind of fund. They're reliant area committees without funding. Let's face the careful face. There's nobody here who didn't think it's against riding the marches, common ridings, even galas for that matter. But so I think, events, because these major festivals and events. So we can talk about Annie for what I didn't want to get too parochial. Major, we class that as a major event every year, riding the marches. But I think across the Frisanka, right through the whole Dumfriesshire in particular, we need to start recognising it at some point. But let's see how the budget progresses, Chairman.
Sorry, thanks, Ian, and I'm sure the officers will note what you've just said. And Jim, I'm not going to start a debate on the riding of the marches, because there only is one. That's Langham. It's got a long history. So, without being controversial for the chair, and I'm sure I'll get Councillor Tate's backing on that one, is it about that, Jim, first and then...
No, I'd just like to thank Ian very much for promoting Sanker. No,
I think I just got in before you did, Jim, that was all.
No, I just want to commend Harry on the proposal about the website, because I think that's a great idea to help to promote all the festivals in the region. But no, I just want to make a wee point, which is really something that we should be doing anyway as a matter of course. And it's the same 3.38, page 33, the last bullet point. 3K to be awarded to Newton Stewart and Minigaff Traditional Music Festival for the purchase of portable staging. Now, if that is the price of the staging, they're going to lend it to the Stranraer Oyster Festival for the next 3 calendar years. I would have thought they'd have lent it to any other festival that wanted to take advantage of it, because if we're funding it, we should be trying to support each other, especially if we're in close proximity to these places, and no have it as some sort of exclusive right when it's funded by the council. And I thought that had been partnership working and someone would be promoting.
Take your point, it's well made. If it's a community asset, it should be for the whole community, not just for one specific festival. Although I think that's just an example the officers have given. I don't think it's an exclusive list. I think it's what I'm trying to get at here. but your point's well made, Jim. Are you okay with that, Harry? Yeah. Okay.
Certainly something we can take up with the festival itself. Clearly, they have to store the equipment over the period, and there will be costs associated with transporting it as well. But clearly, if they are met by the recipient, then there could be potential for that to be more widely available.
I wouldn't want to be draconian about it, Chair. I just think we should try and help each other when the opportunity presents itself.
It's too expensive to shift the Sanker though for the riding of the marches.
We've got what
Sean, next. This is
just on the back of Councillor Crothers raised. It's just really to remind councillors that this was something that was looked at. Was it, Ian, a few years back when we tried to get all the riding the marches and the common ridings to come together collectively and to submit a bid for funding. So this is, this has been looked at in the past, and I think there was limited success in trying to do that and recognising collectively all these festivals, all the riding the marches and the common ridings. So it has been looked at that before, and I don't think there was. I don't think it came together that all the different organisations that provide these got together and actually discussed that with Ian. But you can maybe comment on that.
Ian?
Yes, there was attempts to bring the riding of the marches together, and I was invited to one of those meetings, and there was a productive meeting. But riding of the marches are run by volunteers, they're time intensive. If any proposals came forward, for joint working between the riding and the marches, then that would certainly fit with the major festivals and events strategy. We will be running workshops in the autumn to promote the new fund linked to the strategy. Next year it comes on stream next year, which is the Regional Events Growth Fund. We'll be running workshops across Dumfries and Galloway to link with community organisations and event organisations to assist with any possible applications that come forward. And the criteria for that fund will be a lower threshold of turnover and visitor numbers. So again, that might help the riding of the marches going forward.
Okay, thank you. David?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Blake's withdrawal of his motion notwithstanding, have we clarified that point as to whether this committee has the competence to amend grant recommendations?
Not yet. I said we'd come to it at the end if it came to a motion that was getting put forward. No, that was no my ruling at the time, but that was my suggestion at the time, and then we carried on with the debate. Have the debate first, and then consider where we're going to have them. If we need to have motions and amendments or whatever. So the answer to the question is we haven't asked for it yet, and we'll ask for it if we come to a position where we will or may need to have a vote.
I just thought, in the interest of efficiency and people preparing motions for future debates, they might like to know whether that's a competent motion, and we could just clear it up right now.
No, I would say that's part of the officers in the members' own induction and their own training, and there's programmes and places to go to get that advice. Rather than in the committee today. So I've got Tracy and then Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. It's just really a small piece of clarity. On 3.38, we've got 2,500 to work in partnership with Arts and Business Scotland to run training courses in the region and events, etc. It was just who is going to be running these workshops.
We would commission Arts and Business Scotland as we did last year through the strategy. If members approve that recommendation today, then we would do an online survey to identify the most in-demand courses from Arts and Business Scotland.
Just to follow up from that, Ian, and if an organisation comes forward that's not arts orientated, how would they get support?
The target group for this training would be festivals and events that fall within the strategy or related sports or cultural organisations that have events development as part of their remit.
Thanks very much. You happy with that, Tracy? Yep. Andrew?
Thank you, Chair. Just to ask the officers, in 3.6 where you've identified the 30 million coming into the area, Is there a piece of work that can be done there to work with David Gardner and his team to see how we can enhance and ensure that we actually double that figure, or at least increase it in the future? Because by breaking down how that 30 million has been spent and making contact with the various businesses, we can maybe look at developing that further.
Chair, the £30 million is based on the previous economic benefits identified through the major events strategy. And it's a realistic but fairly significant target. But clearly we do work with colleagues in EE&I, and in fact colleagues in EE&I have sat in the events partnership in the most recent round of applications. But clearly one of the things we seek to do is to maximise the economic return. So we will certainly be looking at the returns as they come in from the events post-event to identify those which have been most successful, and clearly those where they've not met target then would need to look quite carefully at their activities in the future.
Okay, happy with that, Andrew? Yep. Ian?
I want to be very briefly, Chair, but I mean, I think the motion was withdrawn from Councillor Blake because there was further information came from our officials in regards to that, so I was happy at that. That's not coming back. But the point I think that Councillor James brought up was relevant. I think the motion was absolutely competent, and that's the only point I think he was trying to understand. And I think it's fair that should be answered. Was that motion competent? There's no another motion coming in.
I just totally disagree with you. And my ruling is that at this stage, because there's no motion on the table, that's a personal development thing for the councillor if he doesn't understand and wants to know. Others in the room, it was part of your induction process as councillors, and I've no getting the governance officer involved in something which ultimately come back to me as chair, right? And I'm saying we're moving on. So are we ready to move to the recommendations? Yep. Okay. Right. So one is to note the recommendations of the events partnership. It's appendices 1 and 2. 2, subject to the finalisation of the Council's 2018 to 2021 budget development process, approve the following funding. That's A, 183k to the region's signature events in 2018-19 and 186k in 2019-20, paragraphs 3.8. B, 62k to the 7 successful applications to the major events strategic fund, paragraph 3.34. And C, 22k for the sector development initiatives, paragraph 3.38. Are we happy to agree with that? Ian?
Just clarify on the point that Councillor Tate brought up earlier, 3.2.8 on page 30. If we're looking to go forward, agree that the recommendations, does that mean that, because we've got clarity that they actually could come back in, it didn't restrict them, but when you read that paragraph, you think that restricts the Muckletown from coming back in? Just so we've either got that minuted or absolute clarity that doesn't stop them coming back in.
No, you've got the assurance that will come back in, and the clerk will just confirm that that's been covered in the minute. Yeah. Is that enough for you? Okay, thank you. Anything else? So we're agreed. Right, so we'll move on to item 7. Thank you. Universal credit update. Report by the Head of Customer Services again. The Council remains committed to protecting the most vulnerable people, and this report provides members with an update on the implementation of Universal Credit Full Service by the Department for Work and Pensions, and also provides an indication of the anticipated local impact. We've got Lorna Campbell here to take any questions on the report. I'm assuming that all members of the committee received a copy of the response that we got from the Secretary of State for Scotland. So, yeah, right, say thank you. We'll kindly just move straight on to questions unless there's any update. There's no overnight news. No, right, okay. So we'll go straight to questions. Okay, Rob.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I mean the response that we have is, as okay as far as it goes, but I think probably we're not really reaching any particular meeting of minds on the issue at this point. It does strike me that the Council having agreed a position on this matter by majority, certainly, or was it unanimous? I can't recall. However, we have agreed a position on this. We have a lobbying position on the matter. It strikes me that there is perhaps an opportunity, given that there is the appointment of a new Secretary of State for, let me check the title, for Work and Pensions. Thank you, Adam. who actually, in fairness, and I don't often praise opponents, did act quickly with regard to the legal position on certain criteria for PIP assessment, both to reinstate payments and indeed to backdate them. It may be that a new face in that particular department might be somewhat more sympathetic to the points we were trying to make. I'd like to suggest, therefore, that we give the Chair a mandate to enter into correspondence with the new Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, that is, and I think effectively reiterate the points of concern which we've made. Those were alluded to in the response we received, but I don't think particularly addressed. Perhaps a new face and a new effort at this might make us a little more progress, and I'm quite happy to add that as a recommendation and move.
Thanks. Adam?
Thanks, Chair. I'm quite happy to second that proposal. Looking at the response that we received from the Secretary of State for Scotland is just utter nonsense, in particular in the last page about explicit consent. And I recall in your letter to the Secretary of State for Scotland, you had asked about councillors being able to be under explicit consent, and the reply from the Secretary of State for Scotland refers to fraudsters and other, I can't find the exact term, other unscrupulous people. I think that's quite a bizarre assumption to make about councillors. I think that it's good that we write to the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, given the fact that we have no further update on when actually the date that our area will need to implement universal credit will come. I very much doubt we will get any further joy than what we have with the Secretary of State for Scotland, but it is worth trying. I just want to ask the officers a particular question. I see that there's going to be an amended work practice for particular customer groups in the appendix on page 47, and in particular one of those is on criminal justice. At the seminar that we had just before Christmas, I had asked about about prisoners who were leaving prison and how they would be able to apply for universal credit, understanding that universal credit application is all online. And obviously, for reasons that I'm sure we're all aware of, prisoners aren't given access to online facilities. When I had asked about this question at that seminar, the response that was received was that basically a prisoner would be unable to apply for universal credit until they had left prison. I very much am of the opinion that a prisoner leaves a prison with about approximately £65 that's given to them to leave. A lot of them are let leave prison and are released on a Friday afternoon. That my understanding is that £65 will be gone by the Monday or Tuesday they have left prison. Afterwards, they are likely to have used that, and we were told they'd be able to apply for a crisis loan. I personally, and I'm sure it could be backed up by a number of research and evidence, that actually that crisis loan will actually probably just mean that there's more instability in that ex-prisoner's life when they've been released from prison. So I was just wondering if we could get some more information on that, and I'd like to see a much better approach. I appreciate that it's not necessarily the power of our officers in this council to do that, but just if we could get some information on how that working practice will be amended for the particular customer bases.
Lorna, can you pull that together for members?
Okay, yeah, thanks, Chair. Probably as far as an update, I've not much more than what you already know. That has been raised as an issue, both at a local and national level, about the issues about leaving prison. It's something we're being advised they're looking at, but the current situation still is that prisoners won't be able to apply online, and they're not being given a paper form to progress that. There is new shore standards that the Scottish Prison Service have put together about prisoner discharge, and we're working with them, not just in universal credit, but about the accommodation side of it as well. So we have got contact with Scottish Prison Service through criminal justice and through our normal contacts to have a look at what can we do for prisoners on release. At the moment, their only option is accessing crisis payments if the allocation that they're given does run out. But it's something that's on our radar that we're looking at and trying to work with the various bodies.
Thank you. Adam, is it a question rather than a statement? a question for me? All right, okay.
I would just like to ask that hopefully this committee will give you a mandate to write to the new Secretary of State for Work and Pensions. Could you possibly mention in your letter these specific three groups? People in the criminal justice system, people who are leaving care, and adults with incapacity, and actually how they will be able to apply for universal credit and make sure that the working practice is amended.
Certainly. I was actually going to bring that in myself, but is there anybody wanting any questions? Ian?
I've absolutely no difficulty with the letter being written. I think Councillor Wilson brings up a valid point. I would, however, ask that the letter written from us as a committee with no political reference.
Absolutely. It's the reason I was waiting to let everybody have their say here is because this has got a knock-on effect. I think one thing that needs to be recognised here, page 47, the appendix of what the council staff and their partners in the third and independent sectors have been working on for some time now is all almost ready to rock and roll. And the only people who can't get their act in order seems to be the DWP. Right? We've got budgets, deadlines to come. We've got resource implications. We can't wait until in the middle of the next financial year. We don't even know how much to set aside. And so no political group in the room can actually put forward a really valid budget on universal, the rollout of universal credit, because we just don't know when that's got to start. And I think, so your point's well made, right? And this letter will be straight down the middle and highlight the very clear points that Adam, you've just said, and the bits I'm talking about us having timetables, us having work pressures, and us and the people having pressures as well. So it's not just dependent on the DWP getting their act together. They need to be seen by the whole population as getting their act together and actually looking after them. And that will be the tone, basically. It's not a political attack. It's attacking the DWP per se, because they're the ones who are dragging their feet. And that's the mandate that I'm looking for the letter that with the AD officers will propose. As in the past, it was circulated as well before, and any responses will be circulated as well. All right, so I want to be absolutely clear. I've got a mandate from this committee for that letter, right? And that's what I'm asking for today. And I would like consensus in this rather than have to go to a vote. So I'm saying to you now, I will not be political with a capital P, but there is the ongoing issue, and I think that your budget leads will share with me, right, the frustrations that we can't actually put together a meaningful budget at this time because we just don't know when it's got to be rolled out. It's already been put back twice. So Ian, and then I'll move on. Yeah.
Thank you for a very full response. No, I think I could say on behalf of our group that you do have consensus. If I would also just recall that in future, when we've got to do similar to and devolve matters, that we equally get consensus in that.
Absolutely. Not a problem with that at all. We're here to serve Dumfries and Galloway. Jane?
Yes, that's absolutely right. We are. We're here to serve our people. I just want to really get a little bit of, I suppose, reassurance about the issue of people being made homeless. The group was discussing this on Monday, and I'm not absolutely certain where I should immediately go to get that level. We have received reassurances from officers on a rolling basis, but I just wonder where I would be able to go and get a sort of, should we say, composite reassurance about how you're taking this forward. And you probably know already, roughly speaking, what the cohort might be who might fall into problems, and how you're dealing with that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Yes, we're working very closely with the registered social landlords. All landlords, regardless of whether they're social landlords or not, have a statutory requirement to notify the Homeless Service of the council if notice of proceedings are starting for eviction for whatever reason, whether it's universal credit, for any reason. So all landlords must notify us early before it becomes to eviction stage. So as a local authority, we do get early notification so we can intervene quite quickly, meet with clients, explore what the issues are. If it's universal credit and rent arrears is because of budgeting issues or actually just not having enough to budget, then we do have, because of the decisions we've made at committee about anti-poverty funding, we've topped up and allocate certain part of DHP funding So it means we can mitigate some of the circumstances and work with clients. The new team that's also been agreed to actually help with budgeting and support. I mean, while we can't change how universal credit is going to be paid and the DWP side of it, what we'll do is work with tenants to actually help them budget, help them with any other issues that might be arising. It may not work 100% all the time, but I think we've got processes in place to try and assist and at least allow us to track what the issues are if we can't resolve them. It'll put us in a better situation.
Thank you. Can we just be assured that that will come forward to us? We'll get details of what is happening when it happens.
Obviously, I'm just writing down an extra recommendation, Jane, as you go on. And I think we've already agreed that we'll have regular updates at every committee on the rollout of universal credit until it becomes live. And I think the April committee should give us the most up-to-date information. Whilst I'm happy to have it as a headline agenda item, and then if necessary, absolutely necessary, a late paper, depending on, because this could change overnight depending on what happens at DWP. So I think a bit of leeway maybe for officers in that if they get information a couple of days before the committee, then they can bring forward an urgent addendum to the committee paper. So we can actually set all that out, I think. Yeah. Okay. We agreed? Right. Thanks very much. Agree the recommendations? And the second one we need to add in there is that the April committee report back will have the most up-to-date information where we currently stand on the service issues that we're talking about. That we're saying. And the also is I need the mandate from this committee. We agreed that I write to no cabinet secretaries, what are the minister for the DWP. And the basis will be on the late delivery and on some very specific issues, and it will be apolitical. Yeah, it will be a council letter. All right. Okay, happy with that? Right, thank you very much. Let's move on to item 8. The capital investment strategy, land asset class monitoring. A report provides members with an overview of the agreed capital investment strategy for the land asset class for the current financial year. Again, it's Harry to answer questions. And have you anything to add yet, Harry?
No, nothing to add at this stage, Chair.
Okay, thanks. So we'll just go straight to questions. Adam?
Thanks, Chair. It's just in the appendix to this item. I see that there's a number in the comments box at the end, there's a number that say complete, but there's no information in the actual net spend. I wondered if we could maybe get that updated and circulated to members.
Chair, yes, it's this refers back to paragraph 3.7, where we're saying there are a number of projects which are marked as complete. There was no spend recorded against them to date. It's because it's been done from within the revenue resources available, principally labour, and we do need to move that into the capital side before year end, and I'll certainly seek to provide an update. We have a further monitoring meeting with the capital officers in the next week or so, so I'll certainly try to provide an update to members at that stage.
Thanks very much, Jane.
Thank you. That answers one question. Chairman, 3.12, I don't know whether any other members come through the Dalbeattie Road A75 fork in Dumfries. That Royal Doulton fountain is just being crushed by lorries turning because of sat-nav mistakes. And I don't know if anybody else knows it, but it's in Dumfries. It's that junction, and it is being systematically destroyed. And I'm interested that the Dumfries Town Centre fountain is to be picked up by the Stove. It's rather sad, actually.
Harry?
That fountain has been subject to some debate over the last couple of years as to whether it's a roads asset or whether it's a street asset. But more to the point, what we've actually identified is that it's in the ownership of a private party, because it was a family monument, and it's been passed down through legacy. So the council doesn't actually have ownership of it. We continue to try and identify a way forward with the owner as well.
Chair, I have information on that. Obviously, Harry, the Councillor Maitland raised about the fountain. That the person is deceased, and the person was living in Australia. That was the last contact. It was actually gifted through the family. It was gifted in about 1903 or 1904. So the person who was passed on in the will was deceased in Australia, and there's no further contact. We've done a number of searches over a period of years. You're absolutely right, the council does not belong to it, and Councillor Maitland's absolutely right there. There's many vehicles that are turning the wrong way and bashing it. But the council has repaired it over a number of years and patched it up, but the problem is the ownership, and the person deceased, unfortunately.
Thanks very much, and the odd slurry spreader gets in the way too sometimes. The odd slurry spreader. I think we need, on that particular issue, it's a word issue that you and I know, and I don't want to be parochial here, trying my best not to be. I'm getting my finger wagged at me. And I'm wondering if we could look at the ways of moving that forward, because you're absolutely right. It's right in the middle. It's causing, it's on it. I'm not sure if that's actually, is that still the A75 or it's back to us? It would need to be clarified, because it should be ours, I would think. The function, it may be right for a purchase order of some description, but where the money would go, I don't know. Because we, aye, well, absolutely, and it doesn't take away from the problem. But I mean, I'm happy to let Harry investigate for us and bring and sort something out. You come up with that? Yeah, everybody. Anybody else? Questions? No. In that case, then we'll move on to recommendations. This we're asked to note the financial and physical progress of the projects within the Land Asset Class Capital Programme in 2017-18. I'd just like to actually suggest here that individual ward members might be happy when they're visiting community councils and everything else, just to draw attention to the work that's actually been done in quite small areas and quite small amounts, because every little helps, as a big chain store says. You know, let's be positive about our council and about the work we're doing. Okay, so let's move on. Thank you very much. Centenary Fields Initiative, report by, again, Harry. The report provides the background to the Centenary Fields Initiative and seeks members' agreement for the inclusion of 5 sites into the scheme. Support the work of Centenary Fields with its objectives to commemorate World War I through protecting green spaces. Harry, again, and Nicola will take any questions that we might want to have. Okay. Jim Dempster.
Well, please yourself. Without being parochial chair, I am more than happy to support the Kirkconnell one, because that was a school I used to attend that park's made there when they demolished it, and I'm waiting on my own monument being put up in due course. I'm sure it will. But I did take the opportunity to speak to Nicola. I'm quite sure other members of in the committee will have the same thoughts, that there'll be other similar locations in the region that would qualify for the same status. And if there was an opportunity for them to be considered as well as the ones that are set in the paper, I'd be happy with that. And I don't want to be parochial, but I know there's one where a community have put a lot of effort into creating a new war memorial, investing in play equipment, furniture, and I'm quite sure they would be happy to have that included if that were possible. So I think the question is, would it be possible through Nicola, if members were to make recommendations, and Nicola could maybe forward or have them considered? I think that would be helpful. No issue with the paper at all, and I'm quite happy with my old school features.
Absolutely. I think we're all agreed with the premise behind this, you know, and I don't think anybody, just come in a second, Andrew. Nicola, just in that question for Councillor Dempster, is there anybody else in the region other than Upper Nistile that might potentially be in the mix here, that we've not covered in the paper?
Thank you, Chair. There is no upper limit to how many sites we can put forward for this. However, there are some costs associated with it. The process is, after they're put forward, we fill out an application form for each site. The decision rests with the Centenary Fields Trust on what finally goes forward. For each site, we would put up a commemorative plate which is provided by Fields and Trust. We would bear the cost of installation. In addition, there's an £80 charge to the land registry that we would have to make for each site. to have it designated. So whilst what we've got there is a representation from all areas for all of the council, but we could certainly consider if members were particularly keen to put anything else forward.
Before I let Andrew in, can you just ask the question for me? So who can all put forward things to the Centenary Fields initiative? Is it only the local authority, or can, like, community councils or something like that, can they do that themselves?
As far as I understand it, private owners can put forward sites and other communities. Obviously, we've tried to do council sites here, although I believe the Glenluce one is run by the community, so there will be community consultation taking place on any site that's put forward to make sure everyone's happy with the proposal.
Okay, so we could, I've no come to the recommendations yet, we could actually say that any other community body could actually seek some assistance from us in terms of putting together or looking at the protocol and everything else and potentially putting a bid forward. Because at the end of the day, it's the Centenary Fields initiative who are actually to make the decision, not the council. Yeah. So am I right?
Yes, as far as I understand, other groups can put forward, but the council couldn't put forward anything other than a council site. Yeah.
Thanks. Andrew, right, thanks for your patience. Okay, and you come.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me in. It's a question regarding the latest park in Glenluce. I've been led to believe that that isn't actually owned by the council, and it was gifted to the people of Glenluce somehow. Just a little bit of clarity on the land ownership of that.
We know that, and that's been passed to Harry. And because remember, this will still have to do some form of public engagement. Am I right? Yeah. This is the first step. But I'll let Harry answer.
Yes, Chair, with particular reference to Glenluce, we have received representation that site is actually in the ownership of the community, albeit it's managed by the council for the minute. Clearly for each of the sites, we'll undertake some community consultation for each of the sites just to make sure that everybody's happy with the proposal as well. Because clearly there are limitations then on what can happen with the piece of land for the future.
Beg your pardon. Everybody agrees with the principle. I'm happy now to move to recommendations and no further questions. Are we happy to note the recommendations? Okay, thank you. And members can make committee groups in their own areas who might have some suggestion that they're away, that they can actually raise, and they could get some basic support from the council staff on how to take that forward, and also, the costs and everything else involved. Yeah. So it's not just a thing. Okay. So thanks very much. We'll move on.
Can you just clarify what we're actually saying, please?
Is that there's a community group, for example, let's be parochial. Sankar want to apply for this or to go into this process. If they want some support from council officers, we can offer them some basic support and explain, because not every group will have the wherewithal to get through the fine print. Yeah. So
and that'll be part of the agreement today. Now,
that's an offer coming from the council to any other community groups. These are the ones, if I'm right, Nicola, that we actually own. Am I right? Or we thought we owned?
No, many we don't.
You want to come in?
4 out of the 5 listed here are in council ownership, yes. As regards the one in Sankar that Councillor Dempster's referring to, it's also in council ownership, although the community have done a lot of work there. So it would need to be applied for by the council, is my understanding. So if we want to include that, we could do so.
Thanks for promoting it, Nicola. I never said the word.
Does it actually... Wait, okay, I know not. When does this have to be away to, say, me looking through my notes?
We have to have all applications made by November this year and everything fully signed up by May 2019.
John? Each of the 3 play areas chosen for redevelopment / investment as inclusive play projects. I'm most encouraged at the level of community involvement in each of the 3 sites, and I saw this firsthand when I recently met with the volunteers from the Wickenshire Farm Support Group and we handed over the cheque for 125k, which is not the sum of our support, because there's also was pointed out to me at the time by officers that the infrastructure costs as well were built into each of the projects. So I'd be happy to move the recommendation, but first of all, we'll Harry and answer any questions. Right. I mean, to me, it's a good news story. Any questions? No. No. Thank you. Are we happy to recommend the follow the recommendations? Yep. Thank you very much. Thanks, Harry. I've got no other business deemed urgent, so we'll move on to item 12, the Local Government Scotland Act 1973. We're asked to adopt a resolution to exclude the public from the meeting in terms of section 50A, subsection 4 and paragraph 9 in part 1 of schedule 7A to the Local Government Scotland Act of 1973. Are we happy to do that? Thank you. So we move on to